Breaking news from the Ministry of Souls News Network. Bloody hell. This one stunned even me at my level of accuracy. But I'm now super concerned for my sons. Because, remember I was talking yesterday about the sex bomb being dropped? And talking about the sex club, sex/dating club connected to Epstein and the government. And I was talking about lockdown and the parties that Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson and I mentioned Rishi Sunak going to these parties, these COVID lockdown parties, and questioning whether some of them they were going to were sex parties, and it looks like some of them were. And Rishi Sunak was funding some of them during COVID, during the lockdown. This only came out like 2 hours ago on my feed. I have no access to anything, so but I've been talking about this yesterday, the day before, going right back to the Cup of Bubba tea video I made. Now it makes sense why they shut down my Instagram the second I posted that video. Because that Cup of Bubba tea, I exposed the escort service with Epstein and the modelling agencies, Keir Starmer, his rent boys, that hiding the money in the offshore bank accounts, Donald Trump, the sugar daddy dating agency, Wayne James. And it all came back to these sex parties, this sex club that the government were funding. They have a £15 million invested interest in killing kittens, it was called KK. But Rishi Sunak gave them 170 grand during the COVID lockdown. So while they were killing our Queen with the COVID vaccines, our Prime Ministers and former Prime Ministers and future Prime Ministers were having sex parties during lockdown while they were silently killing our Queen with the COVID vaccine. Which, as I said previously, I've been able to prove it definitively. Pfizer even admitted they knew that those vaccines were going to kill people, and it was the Pfizer vaccine that the NHS gave the Queen. It makes sense with Rocio Ray Nunes, the one who hacked, the one, her, the one who tried to kiss my son. She got with my husband, my best friend, and Chris. Hit the sex parties when he was locking me and my boys inside. The sex toys he was developing, that he made, it makes sense as to why when I said he didn't pay tax on the 7 grand he got for it, why nothing was done. Who was he making the sex toys for? When he was locking us inside, he was going away and going to these sex parties. So everything that I said from day one when I got locked up, everything that I said, I've now been able to link definitively to prove that I was right. That the father of my children was locking us inside to go and have sex parties that are now linked to Jeffrey Epstein. And my sons are still there. My sons are around a man who was in a sex and fetish cult. I have photos and screenshots to use against him in court to prove that this is the case. What I keep thinking is, I'm starting to realise the reason, one of the major reasons why he targeted me was because I purified myself and kept my legs closed. I wouldn't let him take advantage of me sexually. Excuse me, I've just had apple juice. Sorry. I wouldn't let him take advantage of me. I wouldn't let him use my body for his own sick pleasures, because firstly, I was in love with my husband before and after we got married. His attacks on me were worse after I committed myself to Martin, and it's like he was offended by the fact that I was committed to the man I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. But it turns out that both of them, including my best friend, ended up going off with Rocio, the pedophile. I also need to make a correction, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Pizza being the term for boys under the age of 7, but there's some people saying that it's girls. I don't know. I don't care. A pedophile's a pedophile for me. But what I keep thinking is, when he drugged me that day, when he put the cocaine in the pizza, when he was drugging me, what was he planning? He was planning something that night. Because when he gave me the pizza, when he threw it at me, he ran out of the house with so much fear and urgency that he put a hole in the wall. And I have photos of the hole in the wall. It's like he was a bat out of hell. And now I keep thinking, what was he planning that night? He was planning, so he was expecting something to happen. And I'm pretty sure now that I've been able to connect all these dots, that the father of my children was getting ready to make me the ultimate sacrifice, because they sacrificed the pure, Baphomet, and Molech, in that they order the sacrifice of the pure and the innocent. And I was both. And he's poisoned my sons. He's poisoned. I don't recognise my babies anymore. My sons have been left in the hands of a sex and fetish cult leader, and now it's undeniable. And now, because of who he helped and who protected him and who they're all connected to, he's now, by osmosis, connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And I warned. So on the one hand, like, I was right. But on the other hand, my babies are still there. And I'm terrified. I prayed so hard last night. I begged God to help me save the souls of my sons. I think that's why I had the dream this morning about my ancestors, because I said to God, because when you're asking for that kind of help, you have to make a sacrifice. But when you're on the good side of the occult, you sacrifice things of yourself. So way back in the beginning, all those years ago, I sacrificed things like anxiety, paranoia, sugar, laziness, anger, stress, that sort of thing. I sacrificed all the negative parts of myself. I sacrificed a home. I sacrificed my possessions. I sacrificed my health. I said, take what you need. Take it all. Just take it, and, let me do this, that and the other. And then the last sacrifice I made was to protect the king, and I offered God my heart. Break my heart as many times as you have to. Help me save King Charles. I'm going to put my heart out there. I'm going to put it out there for all the world to see. No matter how many times my heart gets broken, please help me save King Charles. I've sacrificed my hair more times than I can count. Cut my hair, take my hair. I've sacrificed the clothes on my back, the shoes on my feet, the food in my belly. I have nothing left to sacrifice. So I went to my ancestors and I said to God, my ancestral gods, Please help me save my sons. Whatever I have to do to save the souls of my sons, please help me. I have nothing left to sacrifice other than my humility. I've sacrificed my teeth. All I have is my humility and my grace and my dignity, making all of this stuff public. And now that this has come out, on the one hand, I was right about everything, including my, the dots that I connected with the cup of bubble tea and the sex parties and Sunak and the lockdown, and I was right about everything. I've been right about everything, but on the other hand, I'm terrified for my sons. My worst fear was that they were going to turn out like their father, and it looks like it's happening, that my worst fear is coming true. And I'm terrified because he's an evil, bad, disgusting, despicable, perverted, slimy, sleazy, dishonest, lying, unfaithful, disloyal, pathetic, weak, dangerous little man who has had nearly 4 years of controlling everything that my boys think and feel, see, know and understand, and I've been powerless to stop it. So I prayed so hard last night, and I think that's when my ancestors and my mum and dad came to me this morning. But I can't help but think, what was he planning that night? What was he? I know that I was going to be the ultimate sacrifice. I know they were going to sacrifice me for something. If I had died with the cocktail that he had been feeding me, what were they planning on doing with my body? What was the plan? Whatever the plan was, I don't think it was going to be a very good one. I even question whether him and Martin didn't have life insurance policies out on me. But they failed because I got the download. And then he scrubbed my room within an inch of its life, making out like I was filthy, dirty, this, that and the other. But he only got rid of the stuff where the drugs would have touched. All I can do at this point is pray for the salvation of my sons, because what I see before me is not who I raised. They are not the best friends that only a year ago were so proud of me that they were introducing me to all their friends and begging me to stay up till 2, 3 in the morning playing video games with them, watching them play video games, and where we were sitting talking and planning our future, and where they were my shadows. They were my best friends, telling me I can talk to you about anything, I can come to you about anything, versus what's coming back at me. They're not the babies that I raised. They were my best friends, and I know my children. And what he's turned them into is terrifying me, because they are almost his double. And I'm terrified of the influence that he has on them, If he's so offended by my purity, what is he teaching my children about sex and intimacy? And, you know, I was the one that my boys went to. I've had many a discussion with my eldest and that about pornography and the exploration of the body and, you know, intimacy and all of that. I was the one that taught them. I was the one they went to. And now they're left with him, and he's a sex and fetish cult leader. And I want my boys to save themselves for love, not lust. And I'm terrified. Because I've kept myself pure. And I think that's what him and Martin and his cult hated more than anything in the world, is that I refuse to give my body to anyone that I'm not married to. I don't want a child out of wedlock. I didn't have my boys out of wedlock. I've slept with 2 men in 33 years. And I was married to both of them. And yet I'm the one that they called a whore. I'm the one they tried to treat like a prostitute. I'm the one that they told the world was the whore. And I said to the police during my interrogation with the my investigation into the sexual assaults, I said, you can get a doctor to give me a physical, because they can tell whether, you know, you've had sex recently or a lot, or they can tell by looking inside the cervix and all of that, by the thickness of the muscle walls and that sort of thing, like how active you are. And I said, you can get a doctor to give me a physical. I said, I have not had sex since 2015, because I made a vow to my boys, and I've kept that promise. And it was the ultimate sacrifice that I made to God. I said, if I keep my legs closed and save myself for the man of my dreams, can you please let me save the children? I'm like the occult version of a nun, and I'm married to Christ. I am the bride of Christ until I'm handed over to my future husband. And I've kept my promise. And they hate that. And I'm terrified that he's leading my boys down a path of no return. I was right. And so now everybody that did this to me is going to be connected to Jeffrey Epstein and a sex cult. And the British government paid for it using taxpayer money. So all I can do at this point is just keep gathering evidence until I get justice, till I can get out of here and go to Switzerland, find and be with the man of my dreams. I'm in this on my own, but I've been right about everything, including my video that I did the other day about the letter K, the James Webb telescope. Got a photo of a dying star, and it's everything I said about the evolution and expansion of the universe and the rings, and I just want it to be over now. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of, I was going to say always being right, but the stuff I'm right about is part of the battle of fighting a holy war. in a battle of good versus evil. And everyone can see it now. Everyone can see that I've been in this on my own, fighting some of the most evil, depraved people in the world. And my children are in the heart of the battle. And I feel like I'm drenched in blood from taking souls down to hell, capturing them, putting them in nets, because no one else was brave enough to stand beside me and fight. They all cared too much about what other people thought. And now that the battle is at a climax, we're at the crescendo of the battle, people are now finally starting to see what I've been saying all along, and I've done all the work. Been there, done that. So for me, I just want it to be over. I've got my war wounds. I've got my scars of war. They're my medals of honour. They're my medals of valour. They're my medals of victory. Because I've had to face this all on my own. Because nobody else was brave enough. It's unacceptable to me that people stand by me silently on the sidelines when all I needed was moral support. So the victory will be mine and mine alone. Nobody else will be able to take credit for anything that I've done. For all my investigations, for my standing in my truth, for defending the honour of my king. Trying to save the people of Great Britain from some of the most evil people that have ever existed on this planet. They're only now just seeing what I've been saying all along. But that still hasn't brought me justice. I'm getting justice for everybody else, but now it's time for me to get justice. And justice for me is getting my name cleared, getting an apology check for everything that I was put through. Christopher Black and Martin Arche being held responsible, Rocio, Ray Nunes, all of them being held responsible in a court of law for what they put me through, because they couldn't stand the fact that God chose to save me and not them. Justice for me is getting my name cleared, getting my record wiped, and getting enough money to get out of here to go to Switzerland and build my school. That's what I'm waiting for. I was right about Elon Musk and everything I said about him. I was right about Donald Trump and everything I said about him once I woke up and saw the truth. I was right about Starmer. I was right about Tony Blair, Rishi Sunak. I've been right about all of them. There hasn't been anyone I've been wrong about so far. Because of the power of Indigenous physics has wiped the floor with all of them. And yet it's the reason why everyone said I was nuts. Because I'm Indigenous. Because my black blood didn't make any sense to them. So I was nuts. Effing bananas, to be exact. Just recently called effing bananas. Because my Indigenous physics wiped the floor with the blood of devils and demons. But God just keeps proving me right. But the good thing is it gives me a lot to write about when I do the art of creation. I'll be able to use everything that I've lived through and turn it into artistic license for storylines for the art of creation. And my God, has my life been one wild adventure. But I get to turn it into an empire and use it to save other children so that they don't have to go through what I was put through. And I'll show them how to stand up to their bullies and their abusers and the narcissistic attacks and the racism and the perversions and the disrespect and the slander, all of it. And I can't wait. We'll be our own family. I'll be their mum. They'll be my kids. We'll be our own family. And I'll raise them the right way. I don't care what anyone says. I'm a good mum. I just was bad at choosing the dads, but I won't make that mistake again. I've never had a husband who stood by my side and fought for me anyway. So this time around, lesson learned. I want a real protector. I want a real man. The one who's proud to show me off to his friends and family because he knows what the hell I've done to get there. The one who follows me on social media, the one who, my social media eventually is going to be for the foundation, and promoting everything, but he doesn't hide in the shadows, he doesn't sit in silence, he doesn't worship me from afar. He turns up on my doorstep, he texts every day and annoys me where we talk till we're falling asleep on the phone, where he can cuddle me in bed and run me a hot bath, take me on long drives, where we break bread together, where we have breakfast together, where he wants to hold my hand walking down the street, where giving me his last name will be his greatest achievement next to putting a baby in my womb. So wherever he is, I know his celestial placements. I'm heading in the right direction, so he's got to be there somewhere. My Prince Charming waiting at the edge of the meadow, kissing my hand and asking me to marry him. That was the wolf dream. That's what was waiting when I crossed the meadow. So he's the direction I'm heading in. The fact that he was standing under the tree in the sun with the birds chirping in the meadow means that he's been chosen by the gods. He's already been chosen. He's been handpicked. He's been chosen, and he's loud and proud in his love for me. He's not afraid to let the world know that I'm his and he's mine, because he sees it as like the greatest honour. So now it all makes sense, as to why when the world starts to know my name, the people who did this to me end up the most hated people in the world. It's already starting to happen. I just need to save the souls of my sons before it's too late. Because the boys I know are beautiful. They're funny. They're my best friends. We were a tag team. It was the three of us against the world. They were proud of who I was. They were protective of who I was. And what's been coming back at me isn't something that I recognise. All I see is many versions of their father. And that terrifies me now that I know that he was in a sex and fetish cult connected to Jeffrey Epstein by osmosis, because I don't think they knew when they started this that they were going to end up being linked to Jeffrey Epstein. But I don't question how God gets the job done. It's karma. God's like, well, if you're going to play with my daughter's purity, I'm going to make you go down in history as being connected to a sex cult of Jeffrey Epstein's. And that's what the prophecy said. When the world knows my name, the people who did this to me will go down in history as the most hated people in the world. And now I see it. Like, it's so evidently clear, I can't unsee it. And I'm embarrassed for them. I'm embarrassed that I let my two husbands touch me. I'm embarrassed to know them. I'm ashamed of every single one of them. I'm disgusted and ashamed of every single one of them. But my God, am I so glad that God yeeted me out of that situation. Because I don't know what he was planning to do that night, but it wouldn't have been good. Me being locked up looks like it was the best possible outcome for me given what they had planned. It was the only option. And okay, that's fine. But it's been 3.5 years and I'm tired and I want to go home. I want to move into it. I'm so desperate for a hot bath. I'm even thinking, like, could I maybe go to a hotel just for the night, just so I can have a hot bath, because it helps my scars. The CBD oil isn't working, so there's no point taking it. So it would be 80 quid a month to take CBD oil that's not working. It helps with inflammation, but it doesn't help with the pain. And it said it was, to help with pain, and it doesn't help with pain. So I'm not going to waste 80 quid a month that I can't afford on something that's not going to work. Hot water bottles, hot baths are my only option, and I don't have a bath here. I've got a shower. I just want to go home. I want a home of my own. I want to be independent. I want to stand on my own 2 feet without relying on anyone to put food on my table. I want to buy a home. Well, I want to build a home. I want to have horses and cows and chickens and have all my pets and my fruit and veggie garden and my herbery and my apothecary and my big fireplace and my massive kitchen. So I don't know what fate awaits for them other than the fact that they're not going to be able to show their faces in public once this all gets out. But I'm just focusing on what's ahead of me and following the Cello Brick Road. I just keep thinking of that wolf dream. Remember when I was walking, I could hear the people fighting in the background, and that person said, I thought you said if I did this, I wouldn't get into trouble. And I knew it was to do with the law, catching up with these people. And they were saying, the wolf was saying, like, don't focus on that, you just focus on this. Look to the future, you just keep walking and don't look back. You don't need to worry about what's going on over there. It's just, I don't want it to affect my boys. Whatever's about to happen or whatever's about to go down, I don't want it to affect my boys legally, emotionally, psychologically. Just need someone to save my boys. So, yeah, they don't deserve it. I know who they really are. I know their hearts. What I know isn't who they really are. It's a reflection of him. So, all I can do is keep praying. It's up to them. They're old enough now. I just have to keep praying. But in the meantime, I'm just following the Cello Brick Road. I'm just going to cross that meadow and head to my Prince Charming standing under the tree, wherever he is, whoever he may be. That sounded so beautifully rhymed. Right, so I'm going to go and have my apple juice. But yeah, I was right about everything. Lockdowns, the sex parties, the prime ministers. It just makes me sick that while they were doing all that, they'd poisoned our queen and they were waiting for her to die. They'd already killed Prince Philip and they were waiting for her to die with the help of Gates and von der Leyen and Pfizer and the NHS, so that Palantir could take over and blah blah, take over the NHS and that, I mean. So yeah, I was right about everything. I'm just like, how humiliating for Christopher Black and Martin Archer and Rocio Ray Nunes and that too. It's a sex cult. Santaro, a sex and fetish cult. Andy Dilks, Jess and Dan, the ones who got him to do the sex toys and all of that. How humiliating. And not just humiliating, but public humiliation. Because the whole world's going to know what they did, what they were getting up to behind closed doors. When I think about what I was touching in Chris's underwear, he got my phone taken off me when I was locked up because I was having that conversation about him wearing thongs and lingerie, ladies' lingerie. And now it all makes sense. Now the pennies have dropped. And my sister still has that conversation too. How humiliating. I'm so embarrassed and ashamed of them. I wouldn't want to be in the same room as them. When this goes to court, if I have to stand up and give evidence with these people in court, I wonder if I can have permission to not even be able to look at them, because I would probably vomit. It turns my stomach to think what they've been doing to each other's bodies in the name of lust and sex and control. Because I know that Chris was having sex with men and women, but he claims to be straight. But none of the women that came to me that he had sex with said that he went through the back door, that he did the other side, the back entrance. But there was evidence of back entrance activity because I was his Cinderella. I cleaned his filth, because he'd come home from these parties and go to the bathroom and it would all come out all over the floor and all over the bath, and I had to clean it. And I kept saying to him, look, if you're bi, it's okay. If you're gay, it's okay. Like, the boys and I will love you. We just want you to be happy. And I kept saying to him, just use protection, be safe, because you're at risk when gay people and bi people, they're at risk for these things, for STDs and all that. And he used to get so angry with me And then, of course, everything happened that night and all hell broke loose. But it was to set me free. But now I'm starting to look back and realising exactly what it was I was set free from. And I'm terrified because my boys are still there. They're still in it. And he's rubbing off on them in a way that terrifies me as a mother. So all I can do is pray and hope that somebody out there listens and does something to help me get justice so that I can get them out of there. Even if they don't want to be with me, they can go to New Zealand and be with their auntie. But I'll have the money at least to get them out of it and to take care of them. I was on my own at 17. I moved to Sydney and got educated by the Sydney LGBT community. At 17, I was introduced to the drag life, to the drag queens, and Father, please help me. I'm a mum and it doesn't matter what my boys say or do. I need to know that they're happy and that they're safe, and I know they're not. They wouldn't be so angry with me if they were happy. I'm being punished because I haven't been able to save them in time, but I've been up against governments and militaries and Secret Service and police forces and Secret Service and neighbours and family and friends and men, Elon Musk, Keir Starmer, slowing me down. But it hasn't stopped me fighting for them nonetheless, if I can just save their souls. Then I'll be able to rest in peace. The one thing I need to make sure that they're okay with when they become adults is how they treat their bodies and the way they view sex and love. That's important to me. Who they give their body to, how they treat their bodies, how they view sex and how they view love is important to me. I don't want them to confuse lust with love. I want their lust and their passion to be saved for the ones that they love. Because that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to lead by example. And they were the father who gives themselves to anyone who will open their legs or bend over. And that's not the values that I want to teach my children. I just want them to save themselves for love and hopefully marriage. Be as dirty as you want when it's with your partner, when it's with the one you're going to spend the rest of your life with. But save your intimacy for the one you love and not for the one that is willing. I've been there, done that as a teenager, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed. If I could go back and do it all again, I would have saved myself for my first husband. But I got a second chance to be pure. I might not be able to give him my virginity, but I will be able to give him my purity and my chastity. And that means a lot to me. I hold value in the fact that he'll be getting the purest part of me. And when he unleashes that beast, when I'm no longer shy, and we've had, those first encounters, and he's unleashed the beast, then he's not going to be dissatisfied with how I give myself to him as his woman. Even when we're 90, I'll still be doing things to float his boat, but It'll be between us and not in public and not shared with other people. Be me and him and I. And I just really, really hope that I can pass those values on to my sons. My mum gave herself to one man. She gave herself on their wedding day, and she stayed with the one man until he died. 40 years they were together, and I really want to pass those values on to my boys if I can. To just respect your body enough to keep it between you and the person that you're giving your heart to. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go. So I was right. And when this gets out, Chris's cult are going to be humiliated because Santero was publicly defending him on her channel. They were all promoting each other on their social medias. But I warned everyone. Anyway, when the Latin King find out, be interesting to see what happens to Martin. Because if he goes to prison over what was done to me, and Lord, please, sweet Jesus, please grant me my annulment. Let me get my divorce, my annulment, whatever, I'll take it. Just give it to me. So I can get him away from me. I want to get him off my skin. I'm really hoping I can get an annulment and then I can say I've only been married twice. Marrying him was my biggest regret. So, yeah, but if he went to prison over this, when they find out why he went to prison, they'll have to put him in solitary for his own protection, because they don't take too kindly to pedophiles and people who have sex with pedophiles and stuff in prison. So, yeah, forever stained on their names now. Right, I'm going to go. Until the next news break, I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.